Shri Ganesha Sharada Gurubhyo Namaha Ramaya Ramabhadraya Ramachandraya Vedhasi Raghunathaya Nathaya Sitaya Pataye Namaha. Welcome to all for this session on Ramayana to chapter 100 and in the Ayodhya Kanda. In the previous chapter, we saw Bharata finally approached and found Rama, and even before he could able to go and hug him or fall at his feet, he lay unconscious on the ground. Sri Ramachandra saw Bharata lying on the ground, clothed in ascetic's garb, his hair coiled on the crown of his head, his palms joined in supplication, resembling the sun bereft of splendor, fallen to earth at the time of dissolution of the world. Taking hold of the hands of his brother, who was emaciated and weak, Sri Rama raised him up and smelling his head. It's a way of blessing the younger ones by the elder ones. Smelling his head, embraced him, clasping him in his arms, and tenderly inquiring of him, O child, where is your father? But you are come to the forest alone. Had he lived, thou could not have come here unaccompanied. Alas, I grieve that I scarcely recognize my brother. You had become thin, weary, and full of care. What brings you to the forest, O my brother? Is the king well and happy, or has grief brought about his end? O darling, you are yet a child. Tell me, how is everything amiss in that eternal kingdom? Is anything amiss in that eternal kingdom? O hero of truth, have you served the king well? Say, is that sovereign of men devoted to truth and to duty? The performer of the great sacrifice, that is Dasharatha, is in good health. Is that highly learned monarch, master of the ascetic Brahmins, fully cherished? O child, our mother Kausalya and Queen Sumitra, mother of an illustrious son, are well. Is that highly exalted Queen Kausalya happy? O friend, do you sufficiently regard that humble, experienced, high-born, magnanimous companion of mine, he who is skilled in action, the son of Sri Vasistha? Does the royal priest, highly versed in the Veda, who is wise and beneficent, inform you of the time of the sacrifices, that is the yajnas? O brother, do you offer full reverence to the gods, father, mother, guru, and your elders, the physicians and Brahmins? O friend, do you give due respect and honor to Sudama, skilled in the science of arms and conversant with mantra driven weapons? He is the son of Vasishtha. Have you made yourself have you made yourself your counselors who are trustworthy, patient, masters of ethics, who are transcendent of arise? O Prince, the good fortune of kings is secret consultation with those versed in the spiritual laws. My son, have you overcome sleep? Have you do you awaken in time? Do you, in the late hours, meditate on the methods of acquiring legitimate wealth? This is basically when you mention late hours, it is basically early morning, 3:30 a.m. in the morning, when is the time where the whole body is refreshed and even breath will be in equal balance, which indicates that the mind is also in a perfect balance and intelligence is also in a perfect shape to think about what needs to be done for the day, and one need to decide what the person need to do on that day, and the same thing need to be carried out for the day. Do you reflect alone on matters of moment and consult with your ministers in public? Do other monarchs know of your decisions before they are applied? Because if that matter information, whatever is the decision of the king, if it gets leaked to other monarchs, it could bring problem for the state. When you have determined upon what must and should be done, do you speedily accomplish it without making any delays? Because if something needs to be done well before the information leaked out to the others, that act or the function need to be carried out immediately. Are lesser kings acquainted with your determined resolve after the event or before you have set it in motion? That means the other king should never come across with knowing what the king is doing. Do you prefer the society and advice of a learned pandit to that of countless fools? Instead of having countless number of fools around us, it is better to have one learned pandit, because in times of adversity, it is of infinite advantage to have the proximity of a learned man. If a sovereign surround himself with 10,000 ignorant persons, he will receive no help from them. But should a king be attended by a wise minister, thoughtful, studious, versed in the moral laws and government, he will reap a great advantage. Because thousand fools surrounding a monarch will only going to praise the monarch, will boost his ego, but would be of no help when it comes to the problems. And in case of any such issues, it is only a person who is ready to even criticize the monarch, but a learned one and knowing exactly what is required by the state will be of abundant advantage. O brother, do you employ men of exalted character in affairs of moment and lesser ones in unimportant events? Not all people will have equal capability, whether it comes to intelligence, or whether it comes to the bodily strength, or whether it comes to their financial transaction and trickiness involved in that. People have varying degrees of expertise, and one need to employ people according to their expertise, not just simply to provide equal opportunity to all. An equal opportunity need to be given. However, when it comes to employing them in a particular act, one should look at their merit, one should look at their strength. Do you appoint ministers who are pure of heart, full of integrity, and of a noble disposition, whose ancestors have served the crown in positions of authority? Because usually the ancestry indicate how a person would behave, and accordingly the recruitment sometime need to be done. O son of Queen Kaikeyi, do the arrogant and proud, when incensed, offer you or your ministers any insult? As a woman disregards one who has illicit connection with another's wife, or the priest condemn that man who has sinned while offering the sacrifice, so is a king despised who levies harsh taxes on the people. That monarch who does not condemn a man to death, who has through our eyes and deluded by ambition, accused others who are virtuous, and even threatened the life of a king, is himself destroyed. O brother, are you attended by such persons as a commander in chief who is active, victorious over his enemies, skilled in arms, patient in adversity, devoted to you and experienced, been appointed by you? Have you honored with suitable rewards those men who are valiant, distinguished, eminent in military sciences, resourceful, and whose abilities have been tested? Do you distribute remuneration and provisions in a fitting manner when they are due? Servants who are not paid at the proper season become incensed and disregard their master. Dissatisfied retainers are always a source of danger. Or the league warriors, and chieftains devoted to you? In time of need, are they ready to lay down their lives for your sake? Have you appointed as your ambassadors those who are citizens of your kingdom, who can divine the motives of the others, who are of sound judgment, eloquent, and able to overcome their opponents in debate? Do you employ three spies, each unacquainted with the other? Three spies, each unacquainted with the other, to master the secrets of the 15, excluding your ministers, priests, and the heir apparent. Because a minister or a chief priest and the heir apparent, they should be appointed and they should also be trusted. And if they are not trusted by the king, there is no way the king will be able to excel. So, what the king must trust these three people, ministers, priests, and the heir apparent, for the decision or for the any advices they give. Whereas for the remaining 15, king should place three different spies, each of them not knowing the other, to draw information about them from three different independent sources. These 15 are chamberlains, adjutants, treasurers, master of the rolls, commander in chief, police chiefs, lawyers, magistrates, keepers of the forests and mountains, almoners, gallows, gaolers, doorkeepers, superintendents of public works, priests, and paymasters. Do you set a watch over enemies whom you have driven from your kingdom and yet who have returned? Do you deem them harmless? Do you attended by Brahmins of atheistic opinions? Here remember he is saying attended by Brahmins of atheistic opinions, because such persons deem themselves wise, but in fact, I'm sorry, here actually he is mentioning about atheistic Brahmins of atheistic opinion. If the Brahmins are of theistic opinion, there is no problem, because they will be on par with what is being told in the Vedas and scriptures. But if there is a Brahmin, means a learned person with atheistic opinions, such persons deem themselves wise, but in fact they are fools, but they may divert others from the path of virtue, being skilled in dispatching souls to the lower regions. Because if a learned person becomes an atheist, they will be more dangerous than an unlearned, ignorant person. Because with his capability, they can go on debating, saying their path and their thinking is right, and completely deflect a king from the path that has been explained in the Vedas and scriptures. And for that reason, king also must be acquainted with the minimal knowledge related to what is being told in the Vedas and other scriptures, so that he can identify an atheist Brahmin who is diverting him from the path, and keep distance from such people. Such people do not study the authorized treatises on the duties of men, but indulge in arguments against the Veda, and becoming eminent in useless knowledge, discuss unworthy matters continually. O friend, do you carefully preserve the capital Ayodhya, the seat of our ancestors and great men, justly termed invincible, because the very name Ayodhya stands for being invincible, having strong gates and being filled with elephants, horses, and chariots, where Brahmins engaged in spiritual duties dwell, also warriors and merchants and superior men who have subdued their senses and are intent on various enterprises. That progressive city, which is replete with temples of many forms frequented by learned men, O brother, ours is a capital which has been the site of many great sacrifices, which contains innumerable temples and lakes frequented by cheerful men and women, where festive assemblies are held, where no portion of the earth is uncultivated, where elephants, horses, and cattle dwell in large numbers, where no one lives in jeopardy, and which is irrigated by artificial means so that people need not depend solely on rain, which is delightful and where no dangerous beasts like lion abound, which is free from wicked men, which improves daily, and which is protected by the spirits of our ancestors. Tell me, is that city prosperous? O brother, are you satisfied with the husbandmen and those who live by tending their cattle? Do you provide what they need and preserve them from harm? Do you ever guard them and provide them with sustenance? Because here Rama is basically speaking about the Vaishyas who are involved in grazing the cattle as well as taking care of the agricultural field, who need to be protected by the Kshatriyas, otherwise, they will not be able to carry out their economical activities. O brother, king should ever protect his subjects by righteous means. Do you propitiate the women of your realm? Are they duly safeguarded by you? Because if women are not protected, then it will lead to problem with even the children and later to the future of that country. Do you put your confidence in them? Do you communicate any secrets to them? Do you communicate your secrets to them? Because one need to be very careful in conveying their secrets with the women. Women being always hearty in nature, the feminine quality is basically hearty in nature, and because of their heartfelt feelings, they may share anything with anybody without knowing the consequences. Whereas a masculine character among the men, it is not necessary that the men need all men need to be masculine, having the masculine character, and all women need to have a feminine character. With those people who are having feminine character, they do not know the consequences of sharing the secrets with the others. Whereas men with people with masculine character, they know the consequences and they will be very cunning in handling the administration. That cunningness is required for one to manage the administration in a strict confidential way. O Prince, do you well adorned show yourself to your people in the assembly hall generally before noon? The king should be visible to the people, otherwise, people may forget about the king. Do those who work for you approach you with assurance, or do they hold back on account of fear? People who work below under a particular person, if they are suffering from fear, they may not able to share every problem of them, which may put the person at the top or the king in a jeopardy, in a problem. So because of that reason, the person who is a leader, who is a manager, should be approachable to his subordinates, and at the same time they should not be suffering from the fear. Both these states are unprofitable. That is, if they are suffering from fear and not able to share the problems with the higher ups, then it leads to an unprofitable situation. Do you treat your subjects with moderation? Are your forts well applied with wealth, food, arms, water, armaments, and furnished with archers and bowmen? O Prince, does your treasury contain more than what is needed for your expenditure? Is your wealth spent unprofitably on musicians and dancers? One need to spend the money in a more profitable way. Of course, one need to help or honor the musicians or the dancers, but unnecessarily spending too much or graciously giving too much to the musicians and dancers will ultimately not profitable to the kingdom. Is a part of your treasure devoted to the gods, your sisters, the Brahmins, the uninvited guests, warriors, and friends, which expected to be more profitable to the kingdom? Do you condemn any through our eyes without regard for justice, or subjecting the offender to closer examination by those eminent in law and who are of good conduct? Are those who serve you just men innocent of lying and theft and not of ill repute? One should be careful about those people who are serving them closely. O noble one, those who are apprehended for theft, caught in the act, and their guilt established in due examination, are they able to obtain release by bribing the officials? In a dispute between a rich and a poor man, do your experienced judges carry out justice uninfluenced by a desire for gain? But that means they should not get bribed and while giving their decision. O Prince of Raghu, the tears of those who are unjustly condemned by a monarch who lives at ease and is indifferent to justice being meted out, destroy his children and his herds. Anywhere, if an injustice is made, it will going to destroy the kingdom as well the monarch. So the king must, it is the responsibility of the king to ensure justice being delivered to everybody. O Prince, do you satisfy the aged, children, and physicians by providing them with their needs, treating them with affection, and granting them the benefits of wise administration? Do you offer salutations on meeting your guru or the aged, ascetics, strangers, sacred objects, and the Brahmins who are learned and enlightened? It is very much necessary for a king to duly respect the people who are always well wishers of the state without having any selfish desire. Do you use the time reserved for the performance of your duty for the acquisition of wealth, or do you wish the opportunity of fulfilling your duty and acquiring wealth by partially to comfort and dissipation? One need to acquire the wealth, at the same time one need to enjoy their personal life also. There should be a perfect work life balance here, and if there is a lack of balance, either a person will not be able to make money or the person will be involved too much in their personal comfort. O chief of conquerors, O knower of the significance of time, do you divide your hours between the observance of your duty, acquisition of wealth, and legitimate diversion? This is regarding the time management of an individual. O wise one, do the learned pandits and the citizens pray daily for your welfare? O Bharatha, do you abjure the 14 failings a sovereign must eschew? These are the 14 failings which a sovereign must be very careful about: atheism, dissimulation, anger, inattention, procrastination, neglect of the wise, indolence, surrender of the senses to external objects, disregard of counsel, consulting those who advocate evil, the deferring of that which has been resolved upon, the concealment of counsel received, the abandoning of righteous conduct, the offering of respect equally to the low and highborn, and the ruthless conquest of other lands. O king, are you acquainted with the results of the following, and do you constantly reflect on them? Those are hunting, gambling, sleeping during the day, slander, inordinate affection, vanity, concentration on dancing and music, lounging here and there to no purpose, the five fortifications by, these are the things which the king should be very careful, so that in any point of a time if there is a lack of balance, and doesn't mean that the king should not enjoy hunting, gambling, dance or music. They should enjoy, but there should be a limit for that, because anything going beyond the limit can put the monarch in the trouble. The five fortifications by moat, by high banks, by thickly planted trees. One has to do fortification which is covered by water, or which is on the high hills, or which is in a thick forest, to safeguard his interest, safeguard his army. By wasteland destitute of means of subsistence, and by a waterless region. One can also create a fort in a wasteland where the number of people are very less, or even in a waterless uh, dry areas like the desert lands and others, because there again the human concentration is less, and the interests of the king will be well taken care of in those places. The four means to success in concluding four means to success are like this: concluding peace, liberality, punishment, and sowing dissensions in the ranks of the enemy. The seven requisites of administration are the king, the minister. These are the requisites of an administration: the king, the ministers, government, treasury, territory, army, and allies. The kinds of persons with whom one should not contract friendship: those who speak ill of others, means one should be very careful about them, and if a king develops a friendship with them, they will become a trouble for the king at a later stage. The kind of persons the, with whom one should not contract friendship are those who speak ill of others, the bold, the curious, the injurious, those who take others' property, the abusive, the ruthless, and the eight objects which should be pursued, or the eight objectives one the monarch is supposed to pursue, are the righteousness, acquisition of legitimate wealth, suitable diversions, the study of the three Vedas, piety, stratagem, invasion, proper timings, and allying oneself with the powerful. Are you acquainted with the five kinds of suffering caused by celestial beings, that is, by fire, water, disease, famine, and plague? These are caused because of celestial beings. Here means these are not in our control. They happen accidentally, and when it happens, the king should be capable of managing such disasters. Have you carefully considered the misfortunes occasioned by officials, thieves, enemies, and the king's favorites? These do happen because of the negligence of a king towards the protection of his kingdom. Do you reflect that it is not proper to be intimate with a child, one who is senile, one who has long been afflicted, one who has been excommunicated, a coward, a terrorist, one who is avaricious, and one who excites covetousness, one who is despised by others, one who is voluptuous, one who consults everybody, one who speaks ill of the Brahmins, one who ascribes all to fate, and one who is afflicted by famine, or who wanders from country to country without a purpose, one who has many adversaries, one who does not act at the proper season, one who is not devoted to truth, one who lives under foreign domination, and one who is aggressive. The king should never keep a close company with such people. Have you given the following due consideration and found them to be in accord with you, your subjects, women, kingdom, those who have lost their wealth, your enemy, your friend, those who are unfriendly to your enemy? O wise one, are you acquainted with the preparations necessary for a journey, the method of punishment, the drawing up of treaties, and who is being trusted or distrusted? O prince, do you enter into consultation with your counselors collectively or separately? And do you treat each interview as private? Do you conclude your study of the Vedas with charitable gifts? Do you employ your wealth in distribution of alms and legitimate diversions? Do your marriages become fruitful of progeny? That means, are you getting children sufficiently from your marriages? Do you practice what you have learned from the scriptures? Do you approve of acts of benevolence, duty, and worship and regard them as protective of fame and longevity? O Prince, do you follow the path of your predecessors, which promotes happiness and which all applaud? O Bharata, do you partake of delicious dishes by yourself when among your companions? Do, I mean, whenever there is a delicious food prepared in the home, one should share it with all his companions. Otherwise, the companions might become angry and they may not express it expressively, but they keep a distance from such a person who devour the delicious food for themselves. Do you first present them with succulent food and then partake of it yourself? No, O brother, that monarch who is acquainted with the law and also knows how to administer justice and rules by righteous means becomes Lord of the earth and enters heaven on his death. Thus ended chapter 100 in the Ayodhya Kanda under Ramayana. Here, if you observe, qualities that is required for a good administration was well known to the people in Bharatha 1,000 years before arrival of British. It is the British who filled in our mind that our forefathers were ignorant, they were knowing nothing, and we knew we got all the knowledge only after the arrival of these invaders. Actually, these invaders have deprived us from the real knowledge, and instead we got the knowledge to remain as slaves for them. And it is because even Bharata, even today, the real knowledge is not being dispensed to its next generation, that is, to its students. Because of that reason, even today, we are producing only the slaves and not the leaders. One should be very careful when learning what exactly the knowledge that is required for an individual living living independently, not living dependent on somebody else. Namaste Sharada Devi, Kashmira Puravasini, Twamaham Prarthage Nityam, Vidya Daranchate Hime. Goodbye.